So that's our last session together, and I hope you enjoy until now. And I want to talk about my favorite subject, is that where is the value in the startup world and why startups are changing the landscape and the world. Because I have this very weird feeling that startups are here to save the world, and it's something very serious. So just a bit of disclaimer. So the family, as an investment firm, as an infrastructure builder, we are thesis driven. So it means that we don't try to select things only because they will make money, but also because they make sense in our thesis, because you have a limited amount of time. You know, because we are limited by the amount of time we can invest, and we have a huge limit on that, the kind of thing we take at the family are not primarily driven by financial return, but by the fact that the time return will be high. And that creates a double discipline and double optimization around the kind of company that we like. And I want to express and share with you what do we like. And I think it comes down to something very, very specific, is that startups create real value, and we naively believe in that, and we proudly believe in that, and that we really, really hope that every startup we do at the family provide value to the world, and value in every sense. So first sense, I already talked about that, is that of course we need to generate money, and a lot of money, because the foundation of any value creation is the amount of money you create that you can reuse, reinvest, and money as a means is very important, not as an end, but really as a means. But also value in the sense that there is some startups that are more important for the world than others. And it doesn't mean that silly startups are not fun. I mean, we are talking about the people that took SpyChat as a startup. You can go and look what SpyChat is. So SpyChat is a Snapchat for adults. So we are fine with that. But when we take this kind of company, we put it in the entertainment case, not in the core family case. The core family case is about companies that really change the way we live, and that really makes the world a better place in this definition that we have of a better place. So my friend and partner Nicolas Collin has an expression, is that entrepreneurship is the new politics. And I think that everyone that works at the family has that feeling that at some point, right now, if you want to change the world, is not being in politics, but is being in startup world. So that means that the level of risk you need to take if you want to be a company at the family is much higher than the level of risk you have to take for a usual company. And it's very important to understand that, because we are aware that most of the startups we are doing will fail. We are aware that most of the startups we invest in will fail. And we are aware that we are playing at a power law, and that we have the good position in this power law because we are on the portfolio side. Entrepreneurs at the family have the wrong role, because they have only the startup, so if you fail, they lose everything. Again, like I told you this morning, you can have a lot of companies that bankrupt at the family who will be still fine as an institution. But that's fine, because as an entrepreneur, you also have a portfolio for two reasons. The first reason is that the travel as an entrepreneur is much more important than the destination. And enjoying the traveling is really hard as an entrepreneur, and this is why doing something that really matters is so joyful. I told you being an employee can be really great. Being part of a project that changes the world is very, very enthusiastic, and the kind of thing you can achieve and the kind of thing you can do personally in a startup can be really, really incredible, because you can do something special that not a lot of people are able to do. And that feeling drives a lot of people. And again, this is why we created a huge infrastructure to help people reduce the amount of financial risk, but very, very more importantly, reduce the time risk. So what happened at the family is that even if we are doing things that are very, very risky, we build everything step by step, so it takes less and less time to try things. And everything we do is always obsessed not about saving money for entrepreneurs, not about reducing the cost of entrepreneurship, not about being sure that investors will get their money back, because nothing of that we care. But our obsession is always to tell ourselves, if an entrepreneur is doing something crazy and ambitious, and it doesn't work, how long it will take him to realize that. So everything we build, every component, every feature, every service we provide is always designed around that. I will give you a very simple example. If you look at incubator, accelerators, blah, blah, selecting the lawyers, they will always select the cheaper one and they will try to reduce cost. I think lawyers at the family are by means and end the most expensive lawyer on the marketplace. Because the deal we took with them was, you will be dedicated to our startup like you are dedicated to your top client, so we will not negotiate. We are even ready to pay a premium and send you a lot of clients because we want that kind of commitment. And you see, that can be seen as contrarian because you will tell yourself, yeah, but as an entrepreneur, I want to save money on my lawyer. So to do that, what we do is that we transform the invoice of lawyer as a debt and you don't pay it directly, and some of the startup will fail and never pay that debt, but because some of the startup will succeed and make so much money, it works as a group. But the optimization is not around optimization of cost. The optimization is around optimization of time, optimization of success, optimization of range. And being cheap doesn't always work. It's not a universal strategy to be cheap, because sometimes you need good people and that works. Also, it means that whatever we say it so much that ideas doesn't matter. And if you look on a macro perspective, as an entrepreneur, ideas doesn't matter. And that's true. You don't evaluate the capacity of an entrepreneur as the value of his idea. But here, at the family, it matters a lot for us. Because we are not here to support every entrepreneur. We are here to support the one we like. And the one we like is based on the kind of idea we do. And this is why there's thousands of markets that doesn't interest us. For example, on Twitter, I get a lot of complaints because someone asked me on Twitter, I have a great company in travel and time optimization that is raising money. And I said, travel and time optimization doesn't interest me. And the guy went mad. And I was like, why are you getting mad? I'm telling you, it doesn't interest me. But people don't take it wrong because they think that you are looking for good investment. But good investment in this world become a commodity. You don't imagine how many good companies there is. If you want to put your money in every good company, you can run a macro hedge fund and doing thousands of investment all day long and it can work. But if you have a thesis, if you have something you look around, in that case, what people do matters. And more than ideas is a kind of problem that people are trying to solve that are very, very important for us. This is why we can be so excited around a company that have nothing. We can support them so much because we will be excited about the problem. And so even if the idea change under the way, ideas are just here to show the kind of ideas you are able to have. Is it driven by the money? Is it driven by the glory? Is it driven by your personal taste or personal passion? But at least it will be driven by something and we can evaluate that. And what is very important, and it can look so cheesy in Europe. I'm always fascinated how Americans are so good at saying things that no one believes in outside America. If I was an American entrepreneur, I will come and say, we want to raise $1 billion to save the world, and everybody will believe me. I don't know, it should be something about being an American. And in Europe, we don't have that. In Europe, we have this skepticism. If someone come and say, I will change the world, people will be like, yeah, why? Why you want to change the world? That's strange. You want to change it in your advantage. Say it. Say it. you want to take advantage of us. Say it. And we have this we have all these things that make it so weird. And same time, we hate business. I think UK is a little bit of of a different place, but even in Germany, even in Italy, even in Spain, like we are spending a lot of time on this full market right now. Like I'm always so surprised. Like Berlin entrepreneurs can tell you sentence like, oh yeah, we are not here to make money. We are here because we like what we do. Yeah, and liking what you do will go against making money. Why even tell you me that? You should even not talk about that. You should just do what you want to do. And why people do that, it's because we have this anti-business philosophy where we see business as something that cannot be good. And so this is why we invented social business. So that's our answer for that. Answer for that is marketing. Because you will come and tell people, my business is better than your business because my business is social. So what does it mean? No one's really know, but it looks good, you eat quinoa and you drive on a bicycle and you say I'm social and so people will be like, yeah, that's a good guy, he eats quinoa. And, and actually it doesn't bring any value or anything because the real debate is here, is business vs impact. What should matter in startup is impact. And sorry to say it so harsh, no poor people in the world ever had an impact. And by God, if you tell me Jesus Christ or Gandhi, I will shoot you in the face. Okay? So Jesus Christ was the son of one of the most high-paid professions of the time, charpentier. I don't know how you say that in English. Carpenter. So carpenter was like being a Goldman Sachs banker nowadays. So it's not a surprise that that's his father. And Gandhi come from one of the richest family in India. And it's fine, but it takes time and money and free time to become Mahatma Gandhi. Like if the guy was thinking about what he will eat next day, even if he doesn't eat. But if he had to think about that for the next day, he will never have taken the real choice of not eating. You need to be really rich to refuse to eat like that. So so the truth behind that is that the impact and the reflection around impact is very important. You need to be aware that right now in our world, some people can decide to have an impact on this industry, and that impact is a choice. It's a choice of what you want to build, it's a choice of who you are, and it's a choice that you can go against in terms of competition. So we are not, when I say entrepreneurship is the new politics, you should not understand that entrepreneurship has the same power than politics. Because the difference between politics and entrepreneurship is that in politics, it's a question of a majority choosing for a minority, because that's how our democratic system works. And that's fine. When you have a majority that choose someone to get elected, he get elected and he run for 5 years until the next election of 4 years in the US. But it's a majority going to the minority. What is great and new in entrepreneurship is that a tribe, a small group of people, can decide to do things differently without having any impact on the majority. And that's so new. Because look, for example, education. Before education, when you want to change education, you have to change education in every single school, with every single teacher, for every single child. Now you can build a startup in education that will go for 10,000 children. And if they like it, maybe it will go for 100. And if they like it, maybe it will go to 1 million. That's an incredible political opportunity. Because you don't need to go against the majority if you have a minority that is enough in love for you to make you live with your product and make you grow. And that also make the political change much more smooth. Because why politics is so violent? Did you ever think about why politics is so violent? Because you cannot survive if you don't kill the opponent. Startups doesn't need to kill anyone. They need to fight. They need to fight the incumbent, but they can live next to them. And by the way, they live next to them. You know, Airbnb doesn't need to hotel to be dead. It's just that hotel doesn't understand that someone else can live next to them. But if you look at the world in a big picture, hotel and Airbnb can coexist. It's just that hotel revenue will go down and Airbnb revenue will go up. The truth is not that hotel and Airbnb cannot live together. The truth is that the hotel industry live in a very wrong way to have their revenue decrease. So that's something totally new. The fact that you don't need to kill the minority to live as an entrepreneur, make it as an opportunity that is so new, and it means that you can have impact on the world, even on a small scale that is growing every week. Every idea doesn't need to exist. And I think that's something important because, hackathons and startup weekends and all the people saying that ideas are a commodity, and I'm one of them. The problem is that the effect we have is that people feel that doing anything is more important than, like being an entrepreneur is much more important than having the right idea. And being an entrepreneur becomes such a goal that they forget that they need first a good project. Like one of my advice to young people is always to tell them, don't create a company, create a project. And stay as a project as long as you can, because it's so much more liberating. You don't have to think about all the crap companies have to think about. And being a company should be something you don't have choice to. And also, if you think about that, it's so funny to see all these people doing stupid business when you will never see the same people doing stupid project. Why? Because as a business, you have the feeling that whatever happens, you have to survive. So when you pick something stupid, you have the feeling that whatever happens, you need to make it survive. When you see people doing project, they do project because they love it. So even if for you it looks crap, at least they give you the feeling that they are passionate about what they do, because you cannot do a project just, it's not like a company, there is not an end. So you have to be driven by yourself to do a project right. And I think we don't ask ourselves enough why. Again, it's a what, how, why thing, blah, 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 TED, blah, 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 Google, blah, blah, blah. But the why is so important. And again, you cannot fake the why. Because what's the problem with this fucking talk? Is that someone come and say to entrepreneurs, it's so important to focus on why and not on what. And you end up with 10,000 entrepreneurs that focus on the why. Not because it matters for them, but because someone on TED said it. And we end up not having a good signal for entrepreneurs anymore, and we cannot select them from the why anymore because everybody has a fake why. But what I'm telling you is just be honest with yourself 5 minutes. Ask yourself, what is my why? And if you don't have why, for myself, it took me years to find my why. And if you don't have any why, just work for someone that have one. There's so many people that have a very deep and real why, and they are just waiting for people to help them. I'm not saying everyone on earth should have a why and be driven and be like. If everyone was like that, it would be horrible. Like one of my friends, Fanny Peshuda from My Little Paris, told me, thanks God everyone is not an entrepreneur. Thanks God, really, because you imagine a world where everyone is driven, very exigent, never settling for nothing, and very, very hardcore. Like, it will not be a society. It will be kind of a jungle where no one never built anything. Because at some point, you need people that are more soft and willing to settle and do things for others. You have to think about our generation, whatever your age is. We have something that is great, is the internet changed a lot of things on a lot of levels, and I feel so sad for the people that don't realize it. I feel so sad to see so many of my students, especially young ones, that still live in the world of before, now. And what was the world of before? The world of before was based on the fact that who you are is much more important than what you do. And so many entrepreneurs act like that. So many entrepreneurs act the way that who they want to be is much more important than what they are doing. But the problem is that the world is more harsh every year, because we don't judge people anymore for who they are, but much more for what they are doing. And we are not telling you that sincerely. We are still making you believe that social proof, some people, some star, YouTube, blah, 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 all of that matters. But if you look about people that really do things, it's much more about what they are doing than who they are. And this kind of schism between the one that are driven by who they want to be or who they are, and reputation and brand and social proof, and the one that are driven by what they do and blah, 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 is like a gap that every year become bigger and bigger, and they don't understand each other. And that group is starting to look at the other group and say, yeah, I want to do hackathon too. I want to be a hacker too. I want to be blah, 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 but I don't want to do the hard work. And think about why so many hackers build so many great companies. It's because you have a small group of people that had the culture right for the internet. Very eager to learn, able to do whatever you want to succeed, being tricky, smart, be able to push boundaries. If you tell them something is impossible, they will do it anyway. And hackers at different periods of times always come back as the pioneers. And what happened right now in internet is that we are still at the beginning, we are still at the time of pioneers, but there is so much people that try to get that. So, suits are out. You have to understand that you can see the world as a war between hackers and suits, and hackers won. Like it's done. That war is done. So this is why every suit on the planet is trying to look like an hacker. And it will not work like that. Because when a generation change, the previous generation disappear. And it will disappear. Like if you look in the world we are going to, like we are going in a world where a lot of people will suffer from that transition. Like think about taxi people. You know, we can tell anything we want about taxi. At the end of the day, it's hardworking people that suffer from a disruption they don't understand. And they don't understand it because they are struggling to get relationship with anyone, any human. And they put everyone against themselves, and so now they pay the price of that. But like in any war, you always have collateral victims. Like in any war, you have people that didn't ask anything to anyone, that are good taxi from 20 years, and they will bankrupt. Why? Because of the transition, because of the change. And that's come down to something as simple as Coursera. So I'm always talking about that, but everything you want to learn can be learned. This is so new. Like you have no excuse. The only excuse you have is that you don't like it. And if you don't like it, find something you like. Don't try to live the life of someone else. But as soon as you decided what you want to learn, just learn. Like I'm spending more than 10 hours a week on Coursera and I don't have time. And by the way, Coursera or everything else, YouTube or edX or I don't know what, it's just a symbol of the fact that what was before an information value now is an information commodity. And I'm sad to see so many people in France and in Europe acting like it was the world of before. I see too many entrepreneurs coming to ask me who should be my advisor instead of asking what should I do. I see too many entrepreneurs coming to us and telling us I need to fundraise instead of telling us what business should I build so the fundraise become just a step. I see so many entrepreneurs coming to us and telling us that they need to go to a conference or get access to a VIP event instead of asking us, what should I do to get invited as a top star? You see, like that paradigm shift, you have two kind of people living together. They think that they are doing the same thing, but they are not the same. And you can look at every single good entrepreneurs at the family, they are in the hacker paradigm. They are never in the old-fashioned paradigm. And each time you have someone that is in the middle, it struggle. You have to do the shift completely. And that kind of website is one of the ways to do it. Because if one day in your life, you get the feeling that what you can learn can be learned, and you learn it, and you apply it, and you use it, and it brings value, you will see it's one of the best drugs for free, legal, available. Because it changed everything. It changed the sense of power you have. It changed the sense of humility you have. For example, took my example, I have the feeling that whatever happens, I can make money. Whatever happened in the world, even with Donald Trump president, You imagine the level of confidence that creates? You imagine the level of happiness that creates? Because you don't start to take decisions because you are worried for tomorrow. And you have a chance. You are in a generation where we can build that level of wealth. You know, if you look at level of wealth around the history, first, you are in prehistoric time. Where was wealth in prehistoric time? You need to be strong or sexy. That's the two ways of surviving that we still pay until now, by the way. So, why? Because you need food. That's the primary element of wealth. And you need to be assured that the person you are is able to find food, whatever happens. And how you get that? Sex. So you have the first equilibrium of society, woman versus man. And that inequality has been reproduced until our generation. If you look Roman Empire, what was wealth? Wealth equaled power. Because your ability of having wealth was your ability of having power, and having power was about being in a position where you are recognized as a brand. Senator, centurion, and with a kind of a test of the first democracy where you can start as a simple soldier and finish as Marc Antoine killed with Cleopatra. A kind of nice life. So, inverse standard. So, if you look at what happened at Renaissance we started to have people that build wealth for what they know. That was so new. That for the first time we said, what you have between your two ears is as important that your muscle. And we started to have time where at Renaissance, being a Medici was as much important as being a good soldier, a good swordman, but also read the nice books and be able to have a conversation with Leonardo da Vinci. And it's a time where learning has been a lifelong process for the first time. Because you know why so much people are struggling to understand that? It's because we told them a story that learning is something unserious that happened when you are young. Because we told them that learning is something that should happen when you are a kid, but not when you are adult, but because learning is not something that is important. And that put a paradigm in their mind where in the 18th century with education, for the first time education was not a continuous process, but something happening in early days to make you productive for the rest of your life. And that was the accident of Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution have been an accident in the sense that it takes us out from the natural process that learning is something that happens all our life. But what entrepreneurial generation is making is that this entrepreneurial age, puts the learning at the center of the industry because workforce and labor is becoming a commodity. You know, look, we have a Go player that lost to a computer. And the computer have been elected by Korean people as a god. Like, that's the world we are living in. So if a computer can learn in few weeks to play Go better than any human on Earth, what do you think he will learn next? For sure not chess or Monopoly. Maybe he will start to do things more serious. So you have to realize that jobs are not our future. Jobs are not our collective future. And jobs for sure are not the way where value will be created in future. What will be value in the future will be every capacity we have that for the moment machine don't have and will, I think, not get in the next 20 years, is that deal making, emotion, art, everything we can do that makes life and strategy in kind of a weird way, unique way, and create value. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's because right now everyone has a kind of a power that change and transform what we can build in a way that it was not possible before. And it will be more and more. You know, for example, if you look at what happened in artificial intelligence, it's not impossible that in 5 years, we all have in our pocket, in an artificial intelligence, exactly the same way that we have a mailbox. You see mailbox, what it is? Mailbox is a capacity to receive an unlimited amount of information from the world in your pocket. That's what mailbox is. That kind of capacity before was privilege of very high level hierarchy, because receiving information was something that was hard. It was uncommon to know how to send something to someone. And now you can send an email to anyone. And you have this power that was like a very luxury power. Artificial intelligence is the same thing. It's not impossible that everyone in his pocket very fast will have a kind of, companion, a Tamagotchi smart version. So you don't need to feed him, he will feed you, and he will be so nice. So, in terms of major shift, if you look at every big trend that are happening right now, you have so many subjects, and that's what is so different. If you look history until now, you can always define the new generation on a single technology. Every single technology, fire changed the society, the wheel changed the society, agriculture changed the society, writing changed the society, blah, blah, blah. And because we are entering exponential time is not just about the range of technology. It's also about the amount of parallel trends that don't communicate with each other, but impact each other. Because right now, if you want to be a specialist in virtual reality, Bitcoin, internet, social media, finance, what are the big trends? Every platform of democratization, on demand, blah, blah, blah. I can give you so many trends that are so big and impactful that you cannot say to yourself, I want to go around all of them. You have to understand which shift you want to be betting on and which shift you want to work on. And that is easier in the sense that information is everywhere. And also information is not only through Google, it's also about the fact that we can talk with each other and we can find experts and can access to the brain of people in a way we never can have. If you read the memoir of Descartes, there is a very emotional part inside it. It's because at the moment he says that he feels so alone. Let's imagine you are born as smart as Descartes in 16th century or 17th century. 17th century. You are born as Descartes in 17th century. What can you do? You can write a letter to Spinoza. You write a letter, 3 months to go. Half of the time never arrived. 3 months to come back. Because you don't have the address of Spinoza, you send to a priest that every philosopher was using this as a mailbox. Like there was this weird priest that was taking argument from everyone and because he speaks multiple languages, he was saying to Descartes, oh yeah, there is this German philosopher Wolf, he doesn't agree with you, you should write him back. Yeah, sure, in a year you will have my reply. So imagine like the feeling you had at that time of being that smart. You are alone, you are with yourself, and that's why they all became a bit crazy at a certain point. Because you cannot have interaction. Right now, anyone you want to talk to, you can cold emailing. Like, you don't imagine like how easy it is to have discussion. Even with smart, famous people, like people feel obliged to reply if what you say is smart. So the barrier of information is a decrease of barrier in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of fluidity of knowledge and accessibility of knowledge. And again, you have two kinds of entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs that fear the answer and the entrepreneurs that just do it. Yeah, Nike was right way before everyone. So, singularity, not in the sense that a robot will take over the world and we will all die, but singularity in the sense that you are all unique and you cannot build your path based on the advice of others. You cannot build your path on a predetermined way of doing things. You cannot build your path in any other way than being singular. And that's why singularity is such a value, because more and more the individualism of everyone in terms of business, in terms of entrepreneurship capabilities, in terms of what you decide in your life is more and more personal. So that's the paradox of a world where you can talk to anyone, where you can learn everything. You cannot be happy if you don't have strong selection. Same way that if on Tinder you have thousands of people and you cannot meet them all, you need to be able to select. Same thing in everything in your life. Selection became a capabilities to be able to accept the idea that you will miss a lot of good things. And you know, there is this very high tension that there is so much information, so many possibilities, that because people want to do everything, they end up doing nothing. And that's a trap you don't want to get in. Because it's not a question of doing everything. It's not a question of doing the best thing. It's just a question of doing things every day. And just being, you know, like, I see that more and more, this invisible, you know, wall, where you have all the doers and all the wishers. And wishers and doers don't fit together. They cannot talk together. If you don't cross that line, if you don't cross that wall, if you don't break that wall, you will end up spending your life waiting for the life you should have. And there is a lot of way to learn, to do. One of the ways to copy. In entrepreneurship practice, there is so many people that want to be original on their first. There is not art and there is not intellectual practice where we learn to people to be original on their first. Entrepreneurship is an accident, and that's why it doesn't work. If you look at every great entrepreneurs, they always start by imitating, they always start by copying. That's how it works when you learn to write. That's how it works when you learn to paint. That's how it works when you learn sculpture or anything, any form of art. You start by copying until the time you feel enough. That, by the way, how it starts by coding. You know how most self-coders are taught? They look at code written by others, they copy and paste, and they try to change a little thing and see why it doesn't work. Like, you feel it, huh? So that's, for example, my childhood. That's how I spent, I think, the 7 first years of my conscious brain. So starting at 12, before 12, I don't have any memory. I don't know if I was existing for sure. Maybe I'm a robot. Think about that. So copy to learn is a very important process. It's a process you should work around. And there is this fucking passion everybody talk about, especially Americans. You know, again, Americans are so hurtful for us Europeans because we are so jealous. We want to be, you know, the kind of people that have natural passion. And, you know, in America is the only country in the world where people can be passionate about things that we will find so awful. You know, you take anything and you will find someone passionate by that, even accounting. That's true. Like every good accountant in US is so passionate about his job. In good accounting in France, it's not someone passionate. It's someone that do it really well. But if he tell you, I'm so passionate about accounting, people will always be like, what? You cannot do that. Because that's the difference between our old society and the new society. In their society, being passionate about anything is fine as far as you're passionate. In our society, there is things you are allowed to be passionate at, and there is things you should be skilled at, but you are not allowed to be passionate about. Just break that. And it's not a question of finding your passion in the sense that you have some transcendental appeal for something. You know, the best way to be passionate about something, just do it a lot until it breaks. And that's how most of people really get passionate by things. Because passion is not defined by the level of pleasure. It's defined by the level of pain you are ready to accept in a field. And we are very unequal about that. Look at people that do sport. Like some people are able to accept a level of pain in sport than people like me are not. and that's why they are passionate and I'm not. And I think like in the other way, the level of pain I'm ready to accept as running the family is much higher than anyone is able to accept. And that's fine because I live well with stress. I'm very happy. I sleep well. So that's why the passion is here. It's not because there is no pain. It's just because it doesn't matter. So that's how you should think about your passion. You should think about what I'm good at, because most of the time when you are good at something, you can develop a passion. So it's not about, like most of people without passion are people that are never tried anything. And they think that they should be passionate before doing things. Most of the time, passion comes down to the fact that you are so good at doing something that you end up being passionate, because it creates a circle. And again, so I will have saying so much you are, yes, the image is nice. It's not for everyone, really. Like, again, be fine with that. And you know what? I should change that sentence. It's not only the question that is not for everyone. It's not for everyone at every time. You know, there is natural time to be in that kind of configuration. Like, I will never have done the family 6 years ago. It will have been impossible for me. I was too tired. So I took 3 years of holiday, and during 3 years, I was sincerely thinking that I will never do anything again in my life, and I will stay a consultant and steal money from the rich to give it to the poor, yes, the entrepreneurs, and I will be fine with that. I really spent 3 years of my life working 9 hours a week, taking way too much money from rich people to make beautiful slides. And that is fine. You need to live with this kind of thing, because sometimes you need to rest. And sometimes you need to be very active. And maybe, and who knows, in 10 years I will do something else. Or maybe I will be still here on stage and talking to people. But I have no fucking idea, and I don't care. Because that's not the kind of anticipation you should have. The only anticipation that you should have is what I'm able to do now, and how should I do it at 100%. And I think it comes down also to your capacity to accept risk and to be fine with that, and anything you can do to train yourself to be more willing to accept risk is fine. And also, I can tell you about my very personal experience. I think the best thing that happened in my life when I failed, and I failed hard, is that it forced me to accept the idea that everyone will not love me. And that has been so hard in my life. Because I come from an education where what people think of you is so important. You know, like when you grew up in Lebanon, I was talking, my brother is in town, I was talking with my mom yesterday. My mom is great, but sometimes she says things that I realize why I was so fucked up. Like she said, yeah, we come from because we had a friend at the house, and so the friend asked where our family come from. My family come from a village of 50 houses, okay? 50 houses, 49 of them are the same family, and one of them we don't know where they come from. You know, it's like they bought a house on catalog one day and end up in this crazy village where everybody has a story with everyone. And so my mom told the guy that in our village we have 7 graduates from Harvard, 6 graduates from Princeton, 5 from Polytechnique in France. We have 12 lawyers, 10 doctors, 5 that build a pharmacy, 7 that build a business that is valued a lot, and blah, blah, blah. And she started to say that. In my mind, I was like, this is why they are all so fucked up. Because for her, what is important is not the village, it's the Harvard graduates thing. And when you're obsessed like that, by this kind of signal, you cannot be happy. Because I grew up with that. When I was a kid, I was telling people yeah, I don't know what I will do in my life. Yeah, don't care, do Harvard, and after you will think. and you cannot, you don't imagine for me dropping out how hard it has been. I lied to my family for 5 years. For 5 years, my family was sure I was in university. 5 years it took me. And you know when I feel enough courageous to tell them? It's like I had an office at that time where 60 people was working on 4 stages. And I took my mom and I made her a visit and I told her, yeah, it's the office of my friend. And she made the visit and she was like, wow, this is so impressive. Thanks God your friend is fine and maybe you can work for him at one point. And I was like, look, I created the company, it's my business. And you know what she replied? Hey, I hope he did not hurt your study. So for example, again, I had the conversation yesterday night when I will do my PhD because the son of the neighbor did a PhD. So you cannot live your life in the hand of others. There is some point where you have to hear that kind of sentence and just laugh. And say, yeah, I will do my PhD, I'm sure. It doesn't hurt to tell her that. It's fine. Like, I don't care anymore. And I don't feel bad about that anymore. And maybe because we have been a little bit successful. But it's very important to destroy that pressure that others put on you. Because that pressure always ends up on people where you have all these friends coming from all this very, good thing where, because they are so worried to take any risk. And because why people are worried to take risk? It's not because of the risk, because the risk we are talking about now are not real risk. When the generation before us was doing entrepreneurs, that was real risk. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people sell their house to become entrepreneurs. They put a mortgage on their family to be entrepreneurs. They take personal loan to be entrepreneurs. Like now we have a generation of people that spend 5,000 in cloud and 2,000 lawyers, and they're like, yeah, my God, I took so much risk. I put all my saving in that. Yeah, fuck, you have no saving, you have nothing. Like, it's not a risk when you have nothing. And the real risk now that still exists is the risk of reputation. It's a risk that one day you wake up and you have to explain to everyone that your great idea is bad. And the problem is that because we live with that risk, we live with that feeling, we are so worried that someone will judge us, that until the point we are fine with the fact that people will judge us and it doesn't matter, until that point, you cannot switch. You cannot change your life. And that's why entrepreneurship is so hard, because you cannot be driven by whoever you think. By the way, you have so many people that come at the family and say, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, but my family doesn't want. So I always tell them the same story, and I tell them good luck. I tell them my personal story. I lied for 5 years. If you are ready to lie, do it. If you are not ready, don't be an entrepreneur. It's not my fault. Because the question of how can I explain them if that is good? Like sometimes people ask me to call them. Can you call my family to tell them that the family is famous and you approve my idea? I'm like, are you crazy? First, I don't want to talk to such a family. I have mine, it's enough. I will not do a collection of them, And also, it's your fucking problem, it's not mine. And people need to wake up to that. So, one of the good way to do this kind of break is to do little bit by little bit. And just to, there is this Latin expression I love, excelsior. It's a motto of the Roman army. It means always more, excelsior. It gave the word excellence. And that's excellence. Excellence is not a static process. Excellence is about being in a process where everything be better every day, and can that be in very, very small step? It's a very personal development thing when people tell you, oh, I want to read more, and you say, yeah, just read 1 page every day. And of course you will read more. That's 512 pages a year. That's a lot for a lot of people, especially the people reading Tim Ferriss. So, so this is typically the kind of tricks that you can apply in your life. And the problem is that it doesn't go down to the money, and the money is not enough. So there's this Paul Graham sentence that I love, because someone asked Paul Graham on Twitter, does entrepreneur do it for the money? And he replied, few do it for the money, fewer will do it without the money. That's the paradox of money in entrepreneurship, is that it's way too hard to don't get something good as money as a profit. But if the only goal is money, it doesn't work, because it will not help you select between the infinite way of doing money. Because doing money, there is thousands and thousands and thousands of different ways to do it. From illegal to legal thing, from easy to hard, from happy to unhappy, from respectful to unrespectful. You have so many tension about this thing that is making money. But if you do something where you never make money, you never take any pleasure at doing it because it becomes too hard. So that's a paradox that every entrepreneur has to solve. And why everything I told you is possible is also because now you can build niche. You can build small offering. You can start small scale. You can build monopoly in a very limited market. That's something new. If you look at industrial revolution, if you want to launch a product, how you have to do? You have to build a factory. So you have a cost of capital that is very high. So meaning that the only way to pay back that cost of capital was to produce thousands and thousands and thousands of units on day first. So what does that mean? It means that on day first, you need to be a mass market thing. And you need to do a launch and marketing and advertise and all of that. And if you apply that paradigm to entrepreneurship, you fail. Because the cost of capital of launching is not that high anymore, even in physical product. So if you understand that we are in competition for niche, winning niche over niche, one by the others, one after the others, you understand that you can start on day first on something small, even if you think very big. And so it come back to the why question and how much that why get built in the niche. So, I told you that the why is very important. I told you to watch that video. I told you to don't fake it. But we need to add something, is that the why can come after. Even if you need to start by the why to do something extraordinary, it doesn't mean that your company needs to be extraordinary on day first. It can start by the what, you can discover the how, and if it works at scale, you can build the why. And the truth is that a lot of incredible driven company by why are built like that. Apple don't have a why on day first. They have a what? A computer. By the way, they don't know why. They just know that it seems cool. There is this very funny story of Apple showing at Homebrew Club the computer for first time. And someone asked Steve Jobs, why anyone want a personal computer? And say, why they will not? Like, why are you asking me this question? Let me build it and we will see. That kind of drive is fine. Because again, the why can be built over time because success creates complexity. Complexity creates willing to do better things, and willing to do better things build ambition, and ambition build a bigger why. So even if the why is important, even if the problem matters, even if everything I told you until now really matters, it doesn't mean that he has to start like that. It doesn't mean that he has to be like that on day first. And it doesn't mean that your first startup should look like everything I learned you in these sessions. Because everything I learned you in this session is when you will feel ready to do something ambitious. And feeling ready to do something ambitious doesn't necessarily start on first project. So focus on your vision. That's the only thing you can do on long term. And just play with it. Share it. Communicate it. There is something so sad about Europe, is that most of the startups end up dying way too young on the path of success because no one build vision and never share it and never communicate it and never build a conversation around the vision. A good vision is something that is built, is something that is shared, is something that is communicate, and that's why everybody should at some point blog, everybody should write, everybody should share. It's very, very important. Question.
What do you think about these sites to find a mentor? I suppose it's bullshit,
so mentorship works when you know what you are doing. This is why it doesn't work in most of the startups. Mentorship works when you have a relationship of equal. And mentors are like mushroom. When they are good, they are so good. When they are toxic, they can kill you. Yeah. So think about that. Like the willingness to be with a mentor is so high with so many people that they don't care of which mentor they want. And you should, like, good mentors are mentors that you don't want, by the way. Like if I look in my case, I have met very, very few mentors in my life, but each time it happens, it's not because I was looking for mentors. It's because something created tension where the mentorship relation happened because he was way better than me. Not because I went to tell him that I will be so pleased. You know, there is nothing I respect less than people that ask things. There is a story I always tell at the family. You know, you are not, when you are accompanied at the family, you are not supposed to work here. It's not allowed. We don't give office. And trust, we can go to see this fucking room there, where it's totally trust, or menu next door upstairs. And sometime in office hours, people say, can I come to work here? And say no. And so they look at the room and they look at menu next door. And they say, yeah, but I don't get it. They are here. Say, yeah, but they never ask. I'm sorry. And now that you ask, it's done. There is no way you can come. And it looks harsh, but it's the truth of entrepreneurship. The truth of entrepreneurship is that people that ask forgiveness, people that ask permission instead of forgiveness, always fail. That's the first test as an entrepreneur. Because it, like, you know, it doesn't start by a room with all the picture and the desk. No, they start by being little sneaky. After meeting, they stay, and they see that no one say anything. So the next day, they come back, they have no meeting, and they sit down. And then they make friends with Harry. And after Harry tells them, yeah, you can sit in the room. And then there are 15 employees in the room. And they use my employee for them. So that's how good entrepreneurs do. But bad entrepreneurs, what they will do, they will come and ask the permission. They will make you lose time. They will try to convince you why it will be good that they work here. And, you know, it will not feel right. And it's so funny because if you look at the company that use a desk here, they are always in the top companies. And again, none of them never ask. And the trouble is that if someone, and by the way, when it's because when people tell you that they have something and they don't, it's because they feel the unfairness. And if as an entrepreneur you feel the unfairness, you are dead because everything is unfair. There is people that are more talented than others. There is people that are more strong than others. There is people that are more beautiful than others. Nothing is equal. So because nothing is equal, why it will be in entrepreneurship or the family or the thing? You know, we are a family that don't pretend that we love all our children equal. We have way too much children to that. So it's fine. And because we assume that, some people are hurt by that. Because they say, yeah, it's unfair. But it's because it's unfair that it has value. Sorry? Yeah, I sound like your father? Yeah.
What is your why?
My why?
Yeah.
Interesting question. So, my why is everything I said before at scale. So, I really believe that entrepreneurship is the new politics. And doing one project at a time was too small in my willingness of doing something so powerful. So my why is about the fact that I hope that every project that should exist will exist. Every project that can change the world will exist because I will have built an infrastructure that make it possible. So, and this is really what we do here. That's, by the way, if you think about it, I think that's why most of the people outside hate us. I often try to understand why haters are so haters. So, you have few categories of haters. You have the weak haters. Like the weak haters in France are people that will say, oh yeah, the family, they are so show off, it's bullshit, it's marketing, blah, blah, blah. So that category of haters is smaller and smaller and smaller because you had so much milestone that a whole bench of people go on the other side because of that. So, and especially since we sold Capitaine Train. So exit at 200 million, so uncommon. So you have so many people. And by the way, it's such a pain. Because now they ask for lunch, and you have to say no. Before it was so easy, because you don't want to meet them, but they don't ask to meet you. But now they want to meet you, and you are like, yeah, you know, I'm traveling a lot. So you don't want to mate. So weak haters, not very important. But on the other level of spectrum, you have deep haters. And deep haters at the family are people that are at the level of hate that you can, I think no one here imagine like how strong it can be. And I always ask myself, why anyone hate anyone? Because, for example, I don't hate anyone. Like even the most toxic player of the environment, I'm sorry for them. You know, yesterday I saw a term sheet for one of our entrepreneurs that was so bad. I think the last time I saw a term sheet bad like that was in 1992. You know, I was 6 years old. So the truth is that I saw that. I didn't hate the VC that did that. I felt sorry for him. But to hate someone, you need to have someone that you really want. And I think for a lot of people, this fact that they don't feel able to play on that worldwide level field is hard. Because if you look at where top players from the world of venture come when they come to France, he's here. Like, and I think we are one of the, like, every Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, all of this publication wrote article on the family. Les Echos refused to write about our fundraising, and they wrote an article 2 months after the fundraising that was so small, so stupid, and so bad that I hope no one read it. So that's the point. The point is that when you have a very strong why, people will take that as a reason they want to take you down. And that's fine. You know, with success come a lot of haters, and haters are the proof that you are succeeding. So you have to manage it. But it's always surprising why people put so much energy against something, not for something.
So first of all, thanks for the free entrepreneur schools. That was really cool.
Thank you.
And so what's up now? Like you are in Barcelona, you're in London, well, you're still in Paris. And you write articles, you switch to English, you're more international, blah, blah, blah. You spoke a little about it, but what's going on out there?
So for us now, we have three tasks in the same time. The first is to replicate the family in 5 to 6 countries. So our target are Berlin, Romania, Italy, Spain, so France. Yeah, no, not UK yet. Italy, I said it.
Aren't you in London?
Yeah, so I will explain you London in 2 minutes. Why in Greece. So that's the first 6 countries we want to replicate the family. And in London, we want to set up the back office. So we want to set up an office that is specialized in fundraising, deal flow, everything that is about supporting our startup that is not specialized in every country. So if you think about the family has three sections: education, service, and capital. So education, more and more, like I think it will be one of the last time where I do what I did, because more and more we will empower our entrepreneurs, empower our community, and I think I'm doing the teacher for 3 years now, and it's way more than enough. So I did it in English to show that it was possible. That video was likened. I received a lot of good feedback from people from Germany, from UK, from Denmark, from Sweden, in countries that take English very seriously. So showing that as an example was, I think, the example, not meaning that I will not do session for pleasure, but not that intense, you know. So empowering our community around education, that's how we will scale. And the goal is to work exactly like Chapter. So we want that the family become a movement. We want to take the education out of the family as something that the community manage. And we will manage it exactly like Wild 42. For example, if you see, you have Chapter. Inside the Chapter, you have community, people that you empower, things like that. Maybe a little bit more with a thesis. Wild 42 is much more about being French and engineer. So if you don't know Wild 42, it's one of the best network of French engineers around the world. And for me, it's one of the most well-managed community around the world. It's incredible, like, we are so jealous of how they scale the community. We want to do better. But the difference is that it's not based on being French engineer, it's based on being entrepreneur and ambitious. So it's much more thesis driven. And we will open space like that in this 6 countries with the idea to open it to the community and to people that want to put on stage, and a little bit in a kind of a dig-like style. So April 7, we'll launch our new website that is with the content we recorded together. But that website will be built on Nation Builder, and we'll use a lot of social feature to empower community, share it, and so people can start to vote for video on our YouTube, and the best video will come on the website, and we will start to be a crowdsourced media about entrepreneurship European way. So that's for the education. For the service, we want to centralize decentralized. So we want to play with the map of Europe and build unfair the second level. So by the way, every unfair that we have at the family will be given for free in exchange of no equity on this new website. So if you are a startup selected online, you don't give us any equity, and you get access to every unfair that usually we give to our entrepreneurs. 100,000 on Amazon, I don't know, 50,000 on Stripe. It's more than 300,000 or 400,000 in deals, like a bundle that you get just because you get selected online, and we don't take any equity for that. So we are killing our own business, by the way. So killing our own business, we need to level up. And so leveling up is about building the next generation of unfair. And for example, you will understand what I mean by centralized, decentralized. We want to build an accounting infrastructure in Switzerland, because Switzerland is the cheapest accountant in the world. Finance industry bankrupting, a lot of people want things there. We want, one of the things we are talking with Balthazar is about building a sales team in Barcelona that speaks 7 languages, and everyone that joins the family get access to that sales team, so they cannot tell themselves excuse about their go-to-market. Because in 2 weeks, they will call 1,000 prospects, and if you see no conversion rate, you go back and work. And you cannot tell yourself, yeah, it didn't work because we didn't spend anything in marketing, or I don't know what. And so you will be faced to that. We are building a fundraising team in London. So the idea is that in Europe, you have some places that are specialized, and you can take leverage of that specialization for every company anywhere in Europe in our infrastructure. And the third thing is capital. And capital, we are becoming serious because the goal is to raise between 50 to 100 million in our third round. And to achieve that, to pay this infrastructure, crazy infrastructure, but also to start to put automatic money inside the company. But with the difference from a fund that because we are an evergreen, we don't have any detention timeline. And if we don't have any detention timeline or category, we can do crazy shit. Because that 100 million can leverage us for $1 billion. And so I hope that in the next 3 to 4 years, we will fundraise the first $1 billion fund in venture in Europe. So that's the plan.
Well,
I
I
hope you will like it.
Yeah, just a little about.
Yeah, sure, please.
So you are now able to focus on these 3 things.
On?
You are now, like your whole team of the family is now able to focus on these 3 stuff, and you're confident about it? Like
Yeah, sure. Because it's not the same team, and we are starting to get big. We start to be big enough so we can play in parallels. Let's see on April 7 how it look like. But yeah, I'm very confident. And also because even if I said that it was 3 different things, actually it's more 3 steps than 3 things. So that doesn't mean that it's totally true.
Not really 1 step at a time, but
yeah, exactly. So we will find a trick around that.
Cool.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things with reference and culture. If I can say something like I'm really happy you'll listen to me so long, and I'm so happy that so many people look at our video on YouTube. But you know, all of that is kind of so small in the iceberg of knowledge. Like people don't imagine how much culture can shape your life. And for example, if you look that room, you don't imagine how many things have a history, and even if you don't know it, you feel it. You know, it's a lot of people come here and say, "Oh, there is a good vibe," and they ask, "Who did the decoration?" Blah blah. Of course, there is a really incredible taste, and if I was alone and not with Alice, it will not look like that for sure. I can tell you. But like every reference we build is never like I can talk to you about everything, and I can tell you where it comes from and it has a history, and that helps you to build confidence, because references are such an umbrella where you can put yourself behind, and it protect, and it help to have confidence. And you know, novels, movies, biographies, maybe poetry, I don't know, music, I don't know, but even music we choose here is not random, because Alice is very into music, and I'm very into movies and books, but whatever you like, by the way, you should never end to be inspired by art, because I think that's where Europe can win over Silicon Valley. Really, because if there is a one problem in Silicon Valley, is this robot thing. They are so much a robot before robot exist. And it's weird. It's not. Yeah, I was at a dinner with Henri Seydoux, you know, the CEO of Parrot, and Reed Hastings a few months ago, and he was so funny because Henri is a crazy dude. Henri Seydoux is one of the best entrepreneurs in France. This guy doesn't give a shit of what people think of him. And the first question he asked Reed Hastings was, "How do you feel to come from a place that has no taste?" And the guy was like, "What do you mean?" Say, "I mean that, look, you go in Silicon Valley, it looks nothing, it's garbage. You come to France, it's beautiful, we have building, we have art, we have food, we have women. Like, what do you have? And you have capitalization, paper and money. You will end up in hell. And you don't know what life is." And the guy was like, "Yeah, I don't know." And he didn't get it. And because he didn't get it, that's the limit of Netflix. By the way, all of what Henri Seydoux said is also the limit of Europe to build great companies, because it works the other way around. You know, we have art, culture, food, leisure, harder to work hard. One of the reasons you work so hard in Silicon Valley is that you have nothing to do. You don't imagine that, but like University Avenue, the restaurant that is open the latest is open until 9 p.m. And at 10 p.m. you have nowhere you can eat. You have one movie theater with 2 rooms for 5 cities in Silicon Valley, and people will be like, "Yeah, we have Netflix at home." Of course, dude, you have Netflix at home. That's why. Like, the only place on the world where people believe that retail will disappear is Silicon Valley. For sure, they don't have retail. So they're like, "Yeah, one day everybody will buy on Amazon 1 hour delivery," and you're like, "Yeah, sure, one day you will discover life and things will be much better for you." So, and all this transhumanism thing, you know, all these people that want to upload in the computer and blah, 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 they dream about that because their life is very limited in so many sense. They suffer. And that's the dark side of technology, is that you have all these weird people that suffer from the real world, so they want to escape it. And they are building technology for that. But in Europe, I think we have the opportunity to represent kind of another way. By the way, historically, from 3 generations of revolution, that's always how it happened. Industrial revolution, UK, US, then Europe, late and more beautiful. Renaissance, France was so late at Renaissance, but much more beautiful. Middle Age, Croisade, King of France are the last one to go for it, but they are the best at it. So I think being like the early mover advantage in revolution is not so obvious. Like, I think when people say, oh, we are so late to the Silicon Valley, we can do nothing in Europe, they are wrong in the sense that it doesn't matter to be late, and especially if you understand that the goal is not to go, it's not because we are late that we cannot start another point. One example of that is Hotel Accor. Hotel Accor launched a marketplace. I'm laughing because they was supposed to be a client, and I said that, and they are not a client anymore. So listen that sentence at 600,000 euros. So Hotel Accor was supposed to launch a good website 10 years ago. Like, if Accor was serious about internet, they would have launched a marketplace of booking hotels around all their brands 10 years ago. They didn't do it 10 years ago because they did not believe to internet. So they have a new CEO that believes in internet because his children told him that internet is serious. And so he decided to go over internet. So what does he do? He do what every jet-lag people do. They try to go around and do now what they are supposed to do 10 years ago. But if Accor was serious about internet, let's say I'm the CEO of Accor, just 5 minutes. What happened? I will come and say, guys, we missed the marketplace market 5 years ago. It's done, we cannot fight. They are way too big gorillas. Let's launch an artificial intelligence booking messaging app. That's what you should do. Because no one is on that market. No one is investing. If you are on the market of doing something like a marketplace for booking, do it the right way. Do it in a place where you can fight and at least have the same means than everybody else. You cannot come on a market where Airbnb is investing on their website $1 billion a year, Booking is investing 5 billion in IT a year, and you come with a budget of 80 million and say, yeah, well, we are getting serious about that. Put the 80 million on something where Booking is putting 40 million. Because Booking is trying things, Jam is trying things, Facebook is trying things, at least you will be equal. And being jet-lagged is never good. Like, think about you when you are jet-lagged and you travel. You will look tired, you don't take the right decision, you have the feeling to be a zombie in the business world. Like, when you are jet-lagged, you should just sleep and say, okay, I missed that, let's do something new. And that's what Europe should do as venture and entrepreneurship. That's the opportunity we have. Like, every time I saw someone coming and telling me I want to do a social network, or I want to do a music platform, or I want to do an ad tech company, I always see the same thing, someone jet lag. Because the fight in advertising, the fight in the press, the fight in media is done. But look at energy, agriculture, real estate, all of the fields where the valley doesn't have any advantage. And where, by the way, they don't have so much local expertise. You want to do a healthcare company in the valley, you know how you do. You import people. If you do an healthcare company in France, you don't need to import people. You have thousands of boring people just across the street that you can leverage. If you do something in real estate, same thing. If you do something in agriculture, same thing. So think about that. Think about the huge opportunity we have as a generation. Thank you very much.
Que l'enfant